Now let's look at another one. Let's add 7/8, 7/12, just a little bit. 7/8, 7/12, and 1/6. So we can add 3 fractions just the same way as we add 2 fractions. So we have to first find a common denominator. Okay, if you can just look at the fractions and come up with your common denominator, then you go ahead. If you can't, then you remember you start with your biggest denominator, which is 12, and take it and check and see if the other fractions will go, or if the other denominators will go into it. Well, 8 won't go into 12 evenly, so we can't use 12. So let's try 12 times 2. And we come up with 24. 8 will go into 24, and so will 6. So 24 will be our denominator. So this time we'll start at the top. We'd have to multiply 8 by 3 to get 24, and also 7 by 3. So that would give us 21 24s. Then we'd have to multiply 12 by 2 and 7 by 2, so we get 14 24s. And finally, we'd have to multiply 6 by 4 and 1 by 4 to give us 4 24s. Now we're ready to add up, and if you can't see this, you could come over the side and put your 21, your 14, and your 4 down. But we'll get 1 and 4 is 5, and 4 is 9. And then we have 2 and 1 is 3. So we end up with 39 24s. Now we can do this a couple of ways. One way would be to see if we have any common factors. And if you notice, 3 will go into both of those. So if we divide 3 into each one of them, we're going to get 13. And 3 into 24 will go 8 times. So we'll get 13/8. And since there are no other common factors, that would be fine for our answer. Or if we wanted to divide it out, we could say we have 1 whole, because 8 will go into 13 one time, with 5/8 left over. So that would be okay for our answer too. And if you wanted to start here and divide it before you reduced it, that would be fine. 24 will go into 39 one time, with 15 left. And that 15 24s would need to be reduced. You could divide each piece of that by 3. And you still have your 1, and that would give you 5/8, the same as we got here. So 13/8 or 1 5/8. Either one would be fine for your answer. Now let's do a subtraction problem. We have 11/12 minus 7/10. So again, we've got to find that common denominator. That sometimes can be the hardest part. So we start with 12, and we can't use 12 because 10 won't go into 12. So I try 12 times 2, and I get 24. That won't work. Now, see, I'm looking for something that 10 will go into. So that means I'm looking for a number that ends in a 0. So I'm not going to have it until I find a multiple of 12 that ends in a 0. So 36 isn't going to work. 48 is not going to work. Aha, here's a 0. That should be it. 60. So let's put 60 up here. See, since 60 ends in a 0, remember, it's going to be divisible by 10. Okay, let's start up here at the top. We know that when we multiplied 12 by 5, we got 60. So this is going to be times 5. And it's 11 times 5. So we'll have 55 sixtieths. And then on this one, it's 10 times 6. So we have to say 7 times 6. And we end up with 42 sixtieths. Now remember, we're subtracting, so we have to subtract 42 from 55. So 2 from 5 leaves 3, and 4 from 5 leaves 1. And we keep our denominator of 60. And we look at that to see if we can reduce that 13 sixtieths any. And 13 doesn't have any divisors besides itself and 1. So the only way we could reduce it would be if 13 would go into 60 evenly. And since it won't, that's our answer. 13 sixtieths. Now I'd like for you to do some practice problems. First one is 17/36 minus 1/4. The second one is 5/6 plus 5/8 plus 3/4. After you finish copying the problems down, cut the tape off and work on them. Then cut the tape back on to check your answers. The practice problem answers are 2/9 for the first one and 53/24 for the second one. Or if you'd prefer to make it a mixed number, you could leave your answer as 2 and 5/24. Now we'd like to add some mixed numbers. Okay, remember, mixed numbers are numbers that are made up of whole numbers and fractions. So we're going to add 3 1/4 and 5 1/6. Now what we'd like to do is add our whole numbers together and add our fractions together. So let's do that. To begin with here, we would find a common denominator of 4 and 6. And hopefully you can tell that's going to be 12. So let's change to 12ths. And change to 12ths. And if I did that, then I'd multiply 4 by 3 to get 12. So 1 by 3, that would give me 3/12. Then I'd have to multiply by 2 to get 12. So 1 by 2, and that would give me 2/12. So I'd add my 3/12 and my 2/12 together, and I would get 5/12. And then I would add my 5 and 3 together, and I would get 8. So my answer would be 8 and 5/12. Now let's look at one that would work a little differently. Let's take 10 7/10 and add it to 4 8/15. This one might be a little bit tougher to get the common denominator for. Okay, we're going to work with 15 to begin with, and 10 won't go into 15 evenly because 15 doesn't end in a 0. Remember, if it's going to be divisible by 10, it's got to end in a 0. But as soon as we try 15 times 2 and we get 30, we find out it didn't take us very long to get our 0. So let's change these to 30ths. So we multiply 10 by 3 and 7 by 3. we end up with 21 30ths. And remember, 15 times 2 gave us 30, so we multiply 15 by 2 and 8 by 2, and we get 16 30ths.